Old Grumpy Hunter here. In this video, I will take a look at Dr. Ed Ashby's 12 arrow penetration factors.
We interrupt this video for this following public service announcement.
Dr. Ashby's 12 factors for arrow penetration are well documented and were proven using science. To the best of my knowledge from reading articles and looking at images, and I may have missed something, most if not of all of Dr. Ashby's work was done with some type of traditional bow. Some of what I'm going to say in this video is going to upset my friends at the Ashby Foundation and others. I want to emphasize, I'm not trying to disprove Dr. Ashby's work in any way. It may sound like I'm contradicting Dr. Ashby, and that is not my intent. With modern compound bows and modern crossbows, some of the information from Dr. Ashby's studies may or may not hold true to those types of bows. Modern compound bows and crossbows have much faster speeds, which in turn produce a major increase in kinetic energy and a major increase in the arrow's momentum. Even with the major increase in kinetic energy generated by these bows, momentum is still a major factor in penetration. Furthermore, there have been major design changes in broadheads, both mechanical and fixed. Some for the better, some not so good. Dr. Ashby's 12 penetration factors are important to any type of archery, and any archer should read the Ashby reports and decide what is important to them. The 12 factors are: 1. Structural integrity. 2. Perfect arrow flight. 3. Arrow's front of center balance point. 4. Mechanical advantage. 5. Shaft diameter. 6. Arrow mass. 7. Blade edge finish. 8. Shaft profile. 9. Broadhead arrow profile. 10. Type of edge bevel. 11. Tip design. 12. Arrow mass above bone breaking threshold. Structural integrity. Overall durability of the entire system. If any of the components fails, penetration is minimized or stops. That makes sense because if anything breaks or even bends, the arrow is going to slow or even stop. Between bending and breaking, I prefer bending of the head for a couple reasons. Bending will not leave parts of the head in the meat. Bending will slow the arrow, but will continue the cut while inside the animal. Perfect arrow flight. Perfect arrow flight allows maximum energy retention for the maximum penetration. As I pointed out in my video, All Things Kinetic Energy, proper arrow flight is important as kinetic energy. Your arrow must be flying perfectly straight with no whipping or porpoising for the maximum penetration. Arrow's front of center. Arrow's front of center, also known as FOC, is balance point. With a higher FOC percentage, penetration is increased, accuracy is enhanced, the flight is more consistent, and wind drift is minimal. The first threshold for substantial increase in penetration is 19% FOC. The higher the FOC, the higher increase of benefit in all these areas. Easton Arrows has divided the percentage of FOC into 4 groups, with percentages ranging from 6% up to 16%, as seen in this image here. Why is it that the FITA uses a higher FOC? In a nutshell, they want long-range accuracy. To get that, the arrows must be extremely stable. The higher the FOC, the smaller the fletching needs to be to steer the arrow. Smaller fletchings reduce drag. Furthermore, arrows with small fletchings are affected less in a crosswind than arrows with a larger fletching. Shorter arrows are less stable in flight just because they're shorter. Shorter arrows need a higher FOC and may need larger fletchings. Dr. Ashby has rated FOC into these categories: normal, 0 to 12%, high, 12 to 19%, extreme, 19 to 30%, ultra extreme, more than 30%. Mechanical advantage, or how steep the angle is on the blade of the broadhead. Narrow and long broadheads with a low angle of attack, high mechanical advantage, do more work with less energy. Short, steep, angled broadheads require more force to penetrate any medium. Think of a wheelchair ramp in the two images seen here. Which wheelchair would you think would be easier to get up the ramp? Shaft diameter. There is a substantial increase in penetration when the shaft of the arrow is at least 5% smaller than the diameter of the back of the broadhead's ferrule. Likewise, there's substantial loss in penetration when the shaft diameter is larger than the back of the broadhead's ferrule. In another video, I talked about adding a footing to my arrows. Based on the information just presented, I may have decreased the potential penetration because of the increased diameter of the footed sections. Arrow mass. The higher the total mass weight of the arrow and broadhead combination, the greater the penetration. Also, higher arrow mass weight increases bow efficiency because it absorbs more of the bow's stored energy when fired. Many, including myself, have made videos on this topic. Furthermore, the higher the total mass, the less stress on the bow. Blade edge finish. Smooth honed, stropped razor-sharp edges increase penetration, allow more massive bleeding, and simply put, outperform all other types of edge finishes. We all know how much easier it is to cut meat with a sharp knife than with a butter knife. Shaft profile. Tapered shafts outperform and outpenetrate all other shaft profiles. Parallel shafts have the penetration advantage over barrel tapered shafts. Maybe the footed arrows work similar to the tapered. Broadhead arrow profile. Smooth ferrule transitions into the main blade of the broadhead provides an ultimate penetration. Avoid rough, irregular surfaces at abrupt bumps or ridges when the ferrule meets the main blade. Smooth silhouettes penetrate with less effort. Think of a boat versus a barge. A boat with its pointed bow cuts through the water where a barge pushes a wall of water in front of it. Type of edge bevel. Single bevel broadheads are crucial when bone is encountered. Only the single bevel with its rotational force can actually split bone, allowing the arrow a deeper path into the vitals.
This may be true for traditional bow users, but with the modern crossbows and the modern compound vertical bows, and the advancement in broadhead design, is this still true for all bow users or just the traditional bow users? Not all of us are going after big game in Africa. And what about big game in Africa? Can compound bow users and crossbow users get away from having to use a single bevel blade?
Tip design. The Tonto tip has proven to be the most effective for non-skip tip and for initiating the splintering action when impacting bone. What is a Tonto tip? In simple terms, it's a point of a broadhead that is sharpened on all surfaces as seen in the image from Ironwell Outfitters. The Tonto tip has excellent impact strength and reduces surface arrow for greater accuracy at long distances. Arrow mass above heavy bone threshold. Arrows with total arrow weight, TAW, including the single bevel broadhead of 650 grains or more, were 100% successful in breaching the heavy bone threshold in all of Dr. Ed Ashby's testings. Having a heavy arrow has other advantages other than just breaking heavy bone. Here are just two of the advantages. Increased momentum. Double the weight, you double the momentum. The greater the momentum, the greater chance of a total pass-through. Less bow noise. The heavier arrow uses more of the bow's stored energy, reducing the amount of energy the bow has to absorb, resulting in less shot noise. If I had to pick only 3 of the 12 factors, I think I would pick the first 3. Structural integrity, perfect arrow flight, arrow's forward point of center. Why those 3? Structural integrity, as I mentioned earlier. Penetration will be slowed or stopped if the arrow breaks or the broadhead breaks and bends. If I have a choice, I want the broadhead to bend, not break. A bent broadhead can still cut while the animal runs off. Perfect arrow flight. An arrow that is flying straight retains more of its energy and force while in flight. This retained energy and force can result in greater penetration and a greater chance of a pass-through. Why do you want a pass-through? A pass-through results in 2 holes that do not have something plugging it, so it makes it harder for the blood to clot. Arrow's front of center. The higher the FOC percent, the more the point pulls the arrow versus the arrow pushing the point, which results in a better arrow flight. Thank you for watching this Old Grumpy Hunter presentation. Please give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to push the notification bell.